a Ravager spacecraft was arriving on Earth to abduct the spawn of the celestial Ego.
Cool.
But in this universe, Yondu outsourced the assignment to his subordinates.
You morons grabbed the wrong kid.
Not so fast, Captain. 2 sea holes, 2 ear holes, 1 8 hole. Everything checks out.
Does this really look like Peter Quill to y'all?
And I'm Noah, and you're listening to A Bite Of,
where we take our current favorite pop culture obsession and enjoy it one nibble at a time.
And this episode is the first time we're ever late because I was shitting my brains out.
Oh, being honest with our listeners is a way to form trust.
I thought they like our candor. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Poop.
No, okay, well, you don't need to say it again.
Oh, duty.
No, stop. Yeah, there's like some weird stomach bug going around, I guess. I thought it was the weird Taco Bell that I ate at an event for work. So who knows? But I'm fine. No COVID.
Yeah, no
Yay.
COVID. He survived. He's okay. We're fine. It's okay.
It's good. Well, welcome.
Yes, and thank you for being so patient.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't follow us on social media, which you probably should on all the social media platforms at A Bite of Pod, you would know that, I mean, that the episode is delayed. I'm so sorry. But it's coming out a day after, which is better than like a week, you know?
You know what's really funny, though, is that because you posted it on social media that you weren't feeling well, like I had a colleague come up to me and go like, oh, he is no okay. I was like, how did you? Oh, the internet. Got it.
Yeah, but you guys were really sweet. The people that did message and say, hope you're feeling better, or like, there is a stomach bug going around, which drew my attention to like, oh, there is a stomach bug going around. This is weird. How did I get it? But thank you so much. And here, the episode is here for you now. So, yeah. But make sure you leave that 5-star review.
They're like 5 stars, but was late that one time.
Yeah.
Enter.
They said poop and duty too much in this episode.
Yeah. And the S word. So.
All right. So be sure to subscribe. You get the episodes first. You'll get it first, even if it's late.
Right.
That's how that works. All right. So today we are talking about what if episode 2, T'Challa became a Star-Lord.
Yes.
This is one of those episodes that I was super excited for and was waiting for. And I didn't expect it to be the second one. And I'm very happy.
I was going to say, do you think it delivered? Did it meet the expectations that you were waiting for?
Yeah, I mean, I guess before we get into it, I think they should have started with this one. I did like Captain Carter a lot, but it followed the beats of the first Avenger movie.
Sure, right.
So it was like, okay, it's still similar, minus the calamari that comes at the end. But this one, I felt like this is what the show is about. I mean,
yeah.
Even swapping characters, I feel like Peter and T'Challa were the perfect characters to swap, or at least put one in that place, because it just shows how different, like, nature versus nurture and all of that. But it was so good. Like, I want the show, since it's animation, to show me things that we can't get in real life, and that's kind of what animation is good for.
Yeah.
And I felt like this delivered on all those fronts.
All right.
The high praise right at the beginning. Sorry.
High praise. I have to say, this is completely random, but I'm having very Mandalorian flashbacks in recording today, because I felt like when we did The Mandalorian, we always made sure to have tons of caffeine beforehand.
Oh, yeah.
And just the sound of the ice in the cup. His editing ear is freaking out right now. It's like, I'm like, is this where Grogu? Anyway, so that was a flashback of A Bite Of, but let's take a look back just real quick at last week's episode of What If. So that was What If episode 1, What If Captain Carter were the first Avenger. So in that episode, Peggy Carter stays in the room when Steve is going to be injected with the super soldier serum. When he's shot, she steps in, literally, and becomes Captain Carter. The Tesseract is used to create the first Iron Man suit, aka the Hydra Stomper, and is then used by Red Skull to bring Cthulhu to Earth. Captain Carter is frozen in time for 70 years, and upon returning, is greeted by Nick Fury and Hawkeye.
Yep, pretty much the first Avenger.
Yep.
Through and through. Yeah, we know that some of these characters are going to show up again. I don't know in what capacity, if they're all going to be in now times as like some new Avengers team, or they're just going to have different episodes. So we don't know yet.
Yeah, and I'm interested in seeing which of these what if episodes are going to come together, because there was like a detail I noticed in this one that made me think like maybe something happened, that this is a different kaleidoscopic universe or whatever that the Watcher is watching.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see how would these characters interact if their decisions created a new universe.
Right.
I mean, did all of these people create all of these decisions at the same time? And, you know, we'll see.
And I think we spoke about this in the last episode, but I'm still very much in the mindset of the Loki timeline where like one decision creates a branch.
Mhm.
But I feel like this is different than that. This is just pocket universes that are of a decision that could happen.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess we'll see what Uatu has up his sleeves.
His large sleeves.
He has really big collars too, so we'll see.
What's
Big
in
head.
His collar? What's in his collar? Before we get into this episode, of course, spoiler alert. If you have not watched this one, be sure to watch it because we are going to talk about all those details. All right. So let us officially take a bite of What If? Episode 2, What If T'Challa Became a Star-Lord?
You say what if so much in that
So
sentence.
the reason, so in the first episode of A Bite of, of this season of A Bite of, I didn't say it, but when you go on like IMDb, that's how it's said.
Yeah, but it's...
Episode 1 of What If, and then the title is What If XYZ.
Boo, don't like it.
I like it.
Comment below. Do you want him to say what if twice or just say episode 2, what if T'Challa became a Star-Lord?
No. It's what, because always in A Bite of, I say episode 1 of WandaVision and then the title. So the title is What If ... T'Challa became a Star-Lord.
I know, but they didn't have the title of the show in the title of every episode, so it's just weird.
It is weird, but I like it.
All right,
So
anyway.
many ellipses, you guys.
God. Anyway. So we kick things off with a riff on the opening of the 2014's Guardians of the Galaxy. What If T'Challa Became a Star-Lord begins with Star-Lord in pursuit of the Power Stone on Morag. Just like I was like, oh no, are we going to get a retelling of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie? Please don't do that to me. I love that movie, but I was worried for a split like 2 minutes.
Yeah, so because then basically it would be like, these actually aren't brand new stories. It's just an old story with one character swapped out.
And there will be calamari in every single one
Exactly.
to make it a big twist.
Where were the fish puns?
But this one does minus the awesome soundtrack and dance moves, as we know Peter Quill was doing as he went up to the temple to get the Power Stone. This one is T'Challa just casually walking right up to it. No dance moves needed. Korath, the pursuer, does show up, who's a big fan of his work, unlike him not knowing who Peter Quill, Star-Lord, was, with the iconic "Who" line. So it was very much different, and it shows that, okay, well, Peter in his universe was very much like motivated by money, motivated by women. This T'Challa, as Star-Lord, we see is very much a Robin Hood, making the universe a better place than when he, before he got there. So we can see that there's a huge difference with the Star-Lord already.
I like in this scene sort of Korath's duality of like wanting to look at him as a celebrity because he loves T'Challa as the Star-Lord, that the Robin Hood, but he's also like, well, you're also breaking in and taking the thing that I have to defend. So I'm going to fight you, but with reverence.
Yeah, he wants to fight him. That way he can fight Star-Lord.
Right.
His whoever he looks up to him as. But after a quick fight, T'Challa does decide to hire Korath.
Yeah.
So it all worked out in the end for him.
Yeah, he's like, I've had worse people on my crew. I'll just throw you over my shoulder and off we go.
He does get away with the orb, holding the Infinity Stone with some help from his trusted ally, Yondu. So this is another difference from what we know in the original Guardians, is Peter went to Morag by himself. He had no backup, nobody helping him, which probably would have helped if he had Yondu to help him.
And it's interesting though, right, is that because he was always solo, but what T'Challa says here, like his call to Yondu to come is, a Ravager never flies solo.
Right, which is technically their line, so it's even more fucked up that Peter was always by himself.
Right, yeah. I have to say, this is like something that I struggle with all the time. So Peter Quill is Star-Lord, right?
Yes.
Yondu is the whistle guy.
Yes.
I always want to call Yondu Quill because I feel like his little whistle feathered dart pen
is
thing
an arrow.
is like a quill.
Is an arrow.
Right, but it's like a quill.
No.
And I'm like, why is his name not Quill?
There's no feather on it.
I don't know. I'm just very confused all the time. I'm like, it's Quill. And then he's like, Yondu. I'm like, who's Quill?
Michael Rucker, Yondu.
Yondu.
Blue.
Michael Rucker Savant.
No. Well, yes.
Dead.
also dead. Both of those
Also
characters are dead. Yes. Yes. I did like how T'Challa used that gravity trap to pull the orb out, unlike how Peter used it, which was just as a trap.
Right.
So it was cool that there was that slight difference as well. I was like, oh, well, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. It's like he does things like Peter is the lead.
Smart.
It's like smart. Exactly. He'll do things with a little more intelligence rather than just jumping in wildly.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Harder, smarter, not harder, or something like that?
Sure, that's a thing.
Meriton, my Taraton.
That's a saying, yeah.
Comment below. What is the saying?
T'Challa's ship is named Mandela after Nelson Mandela, one of T'Challa's heroes. In the Guardians of the Galaxy, the ship was named Milano after Peter's childhood crush, Alyssa Milano. So, again, the differences.
I thought you were going to say Milano after the Pepperidge Farm treat, the Milano cookie.
No. Could be. Could be.
Both. Why not both?
The show then cuts to the origin of this version of Star-Lord in 1988, who, much like the MCU's T'Challa, is an adventurous child. After his father, T'Chaka, tells him to temper his excitement for exploring, T'Challa ends up in the fields and is like, nah, I'm going to go explore anyway, and throw some spears around the field. And a Ravager ship does come and abduct him. Just like Quill was abducted as well. The Watcher explains instead of taking on the mission to find Ego's son himself, in this reality, Yondu sends Kraglin and Taserface, who end up picking up T'Challa, who has 2 hear holes and 2 see holes.
And 1 8 hole.
And 1 8 hole. 8? Eat?
He says 8. He says 1 8 hole.
I didn't hear that one,
Yeah.
but I could see it. Which, I mean, if that's the only qualifying thing to pick up a child, then yeah, I mean, most of them do have those holes.
Yeah.
I didn't like saying that. Never mind.
Take it out.
Take that back.
Delete. I do like the thing that T'Chaka says to T'Challa. He said, "The blood of a king runs through your veins, but it is pumped by the heart of an explorer."
Yep.
There's a lot of like poetic metaphors throughout this entire episode of What If. So chef's kiss to that.
Mm-hmm.
But also like T'Challa, you like live like a pretty great life. Like just chill out. Stop. Don't leave the bubble.
Your heart wants what your heart wants, and that's exploring.
No.
They're like an isolation. What's it? How do you say it?
Isolationist?
Yeah, nation. So it's like they kind of don't go out. He's only there in his place. So it makes sense. I mean, if your heart wants to go out, even see the stars, and your dad's like, "Nah, we can't," because I've been out there. It's all pain
It's
and
bad. Yeah.
yeah.
I do think it's hilarious though that like the crew that went out to get Ego's son, they're on a complete different continent.
Yeah.
The complete wrong part of the world.
Oh yeah. It's like that just happened to be where the ship was heading towards the planet. And they found the first person.
There he is.
Yeah. So back in the present, T'Challa and the Ravengers, including the newly recruited Korath, head to a galactic waterhole to celebrate their latest score. Among those drinking with them, and this is the biggest surprise to me, I had seen him in some of the TV spots and the trailers, did not expect him to be in this episode, is the Mad Titan himself, Thanos, who reveals that Star-Lord helped him learn there was more than one way to relocate the universe's resources. Which, yes, everybody has probably been screaming that at the screen when Thanos snapped everybody, half of the universe out of existence, but it just took T'Challa to explain to Thanos, there's a better way.
Hey man, let's not do the snippety snap snap.
The reformed Thanos in this was it was a treat to see it, and I loved how it always seemed to just be on the cusp of falling back to his old plan, because it seemed like he always tried to mention it to new people, and they're like, that sounds like genocide.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, yeah, okay.
He likes to snap too with it. Every time he's got to do the snap to let them know how it was executed.
Yeah. T'Challa then heads to the bar, and after a brief interaction with the bartender Drax, whose wife and daughter are still alive in this reality because Thanos and Ronan the Accuser never murdered them alongside half of the population of Drax's planet, he says hi.
T'Challa saved him.
Yeah.
Another great thing that T'Challa as Star-Lord did.
Yeah, I was wondering, I was like, why are some of the Guardians characters in it and some of them not? But I believe he's supposed to have like 3 more episodes. I think he has 4 episodes total in this, or he appears. So I'm assuming that's when we see Gamora. That's when we see some of the other ones.
Yeah, and Gamora's on the sort of image of the what if.
poster.
Yeah. You know, at least of the one that's on Disney Plus. So she's going to be there at some point, just not in this story in particular.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how it all comes together.
Yeah, well, it almost it's like interesting, right? Because, I mean, spoiler alert, in 2 seconds, Nebula is going to appear. So we know that one of his adopted daughters is going to be there. Where's the other one?
Yeah. Maybe she's more. Yeah, maybe she's more upset about the whole thing.
Well, I guess, right, the whole thing is that Thanos was destroying planets and then spared Gamora. So maybe T'Challa stopped him before that time.
Yeah, this is really interesting because when T'Challa went into space was clearly, I mean, and if he was doing all that good this whole time, because it clearly seems like people are like respect him, because I think in Guardians 2, when they went to the same planet for the drinks, they were in like kind of like a shitty bar or whatever.
Yeah.
And this one, they're like in a very upscale, you know, so, you know, depending on how early he got to these people, he obviously got to Thanos really early.
Yeah.
So it was easy to like just cut that obsessive, like, I'm going to kill half of the universe's population. So we got him at the right time.
Yeah. He wasn't very far into that plan. It was just a light thought. And T'Challa was like, let's not do that.
Yeah. And good point here. Nebula shows up. One, voiced by the amazing Karen Gillan, looks great here because she's not bald. One, she has beautiful golden locks. And she also isn't mostly cybernetic.
Right. I feel like she hasn't been tortured as much as the Nebula that we know and love.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to put that to T'Challa as well, because what other decision would have happened here to make that happen?
Well, obviously they have some sort of relationship going on because she calls him Cha-Cha.
I love it.
Me too.
I love Cha-Cha. I was like, oh, that's really cute.
Hey, Cha-Cha.
Yeah. But I will say that Dave Bautista did not voice Drax. He's like the only person. Again, in Captain Carter, there was one character, I think, that was not voiced by, Chris Evans.
Right.
In this one, Drax was not voiced by Dave Bautista.
Well, isn't there some drama with Dave Bautista?
Yeah, he's like, it's one of those things, and I don't want to get into it because celebrity gossip is kind of just like, well, I don't know. He's like biting the hand that feeds him, but then when it is appropriate, he doesn't. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
And he like went online. He was like, they never asked me to come voice Drax, but yet the casting director and people were like, no, we tried to get in touch with you. And this was during his whole thing of like saying James Gunn sucks and like all this stuff. But it's like,
exactly.
You're supposed to be in Guardians 3, so shh. And there's all these rumors that a team member is going to die. And everybody's like, well, we know it's going to be Drax.
It's like right off the bat. That's going to be the opening scene of the movie. Goodbye.
Yeah, so that's your daily dose of some MCU drama.
Oh, he said, welcome to the Marvel tea.
All right, so Nebula wants the Ravengers to help her steal the Embers of Genesis from the Collector. And pretty much what this Embers of Genesis is, this does not exist in the comics. There's some things like it, and I'm kind of, maybe it's like almost the spark that's inside of Groot's people that are like that. Like that's what I attribute it to, because it does spark life and it, very wild growth and everything like that. And it could terraform a whole planet with one single ounce.
Right.
So it could be something along those lines.
Every time they say it, I wanted this to happen. The Embers of Genesis. It just had such a grand name.
Oh, I was like, why?
It just felt like it should be announced, because it was like, it's like not like the Tesseract or whatever. It's just like the Embers of Genesis.
I like how you're like, yeah, not like those stupid Infinity Stones.
Yeah. I've heard them enough, please. We all know the Tesseracts are just in someone's drawer at the TVA, so it's fine.
And this is, again, we're reminded that these aren't the Guardians or prior Guardians that we know from the MCU, because they want to use this to help planets that need it. Again, these Ravengers, their whole point is to help people that need it.
Right.
And this, what is it called? Embers of Genesis would help a planet significantly.
Right. And that's the thing, is that it's like, and T'Challa's always there to make them all realize that although they have a treasure, the treasure can be used for good.
Mm-hmm.
No matter the worth, the value of, like, monetarily, what's better than saving a whole planet with the tool that you have?
Right. And this is right up Thanos' alley. This is what I'm assuming why Thanos is on the Ravagers team with them, because he's like, oh, this is something that we can help save planets that were in dire need, like my planet.
Yeah.
I'm game.
I'm kind of seeing a correlation between Thanos and, I've already forgotten John Cena's character's name. From Peacemaker, right?
Yeah.
It's like they're willing to do whatever it takes for the quote unquote good or for justice. It doesn't matter how many people they kill if it's the right thing. That also has air quotes.
I'm down with that.
Right? There's like a little bit of that, like, sort of insanity of being like, well, I'll just kill everyone, but for the 2 people that survive, it'll be the best thing ever.
Well, that's like one of those like big philosophy questions. Like, would you kill one person to save a lot?
Right.
Or kill a lot to save a few? And it's like, well, I don't agree with killing a lot to save a few, but it's like, I don't want to kill one person to save. Can I just like not do any killing? It's fine.
Every time I try and bring a philosophy, I massacre it. So I'm just nodding along with your explanation.
The good place was the extent of our philosophy.
Yeah. I did take a philosophy course in college, which I liked, but obviously have forgotten.
All right. So Yondu does not want to be involved with this mission. As soon as he sees that the Collector is involved, he's like, no, thank you. We're out. Ravengers will not do this. If the Collector's involved, we're not doing it. And the Collector is noticeably different in this one. I guess that one decision for them to pick up T'Challa made the Collector buff. Because he wasn't like this in the MCU. So
yeah,
that's cool.
And I feel like the character itself, like, it felt like Benicio del Toro was having a little more fun.
Yeah, he was a little weird. So like the Grandmaster and the Collector are related. So you can clearly tell that they're both like eccentric and eclectic and stuff like that. But I feel like in this one, he was more of a tyrant almost, but he was having fun with more power.
Yeah.
Because I think prior he had to be more sneaky to keep collecting all the things he wanted.
Yeah.
In this one, he's just openly like, I have everything. I'll take whatever I want. Look at my abs every single time. Like,
abs, biggest chest on earth, giant fur collar. He was not playing around.
I mean, I loved the, what is it? Cape? Coat?
I think it's a cope.
Cope?
It's a coat cape.
Okay. That's fine. I'm pretty sure there's a name for it. I just don't know it.
Cloak?
So after convincing Yondu to accept the mission, T'Challa and the Ravengers arrive on Knowhere, the Collector's base of operations guarded by the Black Order. So of course these people are involved. We know them from Infinity War and Endgame. They're not anybody to like bat an eye at or be like, oh, these guys are here.
When they weren't working with Thanos, they went over to the Collector.
Mm-hmm. Their plan, Yondu and T'Challa and Nebula sneak in by pretending to be potential clients, while Thanos and Korath and the rest of the Ravengers cause a distraction outside. T'Challa begins searching for the Embers when he runs into Howard the Duck, voiced by Seth Green, which I feel like Seth Green can do some pretty good voice acting. Because I noticed it was Seth Green a little bit, just because he sounds like Seth Green, but I was like, oh, he's not bad at voice acting. And then I remember I was like, oh, he does voice acting
he's
a lot.
Like Robot Chicken, Family Guy.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this makes total sense. But it wouldn't be a Guardians of the Galaxy thing or even involving Star-Lord without a cameo from Howard the Duck, because he's been in every single Guardians movie so far.
Keep it going.
So T'Challa passes Cosmo the dog, Space Dog as well, which, if you know from the comics, has been a guardian for in Guardians of the Galaxy, also security for Knowhere. So it was nice to see him, sad to see him in a cage.
Sad. I didn't like it.
But he was wagging his tail at T'Challa in this one. In Guardians, he was growling and barking at Peter. So
They can sense.
the dog knows.
Yeah.
The dog really knows. Back outside, Proxima Midnight makes quick work of the Ravagers and sounds the base's alarm after realizing they have been used as a distraction. They're like, oh, okay, these people are lying. T'Challa leaves Howard the Duck, who is only interested in getting a drink, and stumbles upon a Wakanda ship with the message from his father, who's still searching for him. Now, is it just me? Or is it terrifying that the Dora Milaje have their garb on these mannequins?
Well,
Last I checked, there's not a gift shop with Dora Milaje garb. Did they kill these women to then put creepy mannequins of them to create some weird exhibit?
yeah, that's what it felt like, right? He got this Wakandan ship and he wanted to make it authentic, and mannequins and Dora Milaje warrior outfits on it.
Yeah.
Not cool.
Don't like it.
Why is there a bar in the middle of the collection?
Why not?
So random. And how come Howard the Duck had such an elaborate cage?
Because he's Howard the Duck.
Laika the space dog / Cosmo
No.
had nothing.
It's Cosmo.
Howard the Duck gets a full lounge.
Yeah, I'm curious how these prisoners eat.
Yeah, how do they feed them?
Like, there's no pillow. There's no. How do you go to the restroom?
I don't know.
Do you just not? Are you in some weird stasis
Is
in
it
there?
Tamagotchi like?
Oh no!
You just hit
You
the
still have to
button.
pick a poop with Tamagotchi.
Just
Oh
yeah,
man, we just
you
mentioned poop again. I just did it again. Damn it!
I didn't say nothing.
Sorry, guys.
You beat me 3-2.
Sorry.
They're like, turning this off, it's smut.
All right. It is. I do think that this pretty much like confirms that the Wakandans did have some play or support in space exploration and technology being out there.
Yeah, what it seemed like to me was that T'Chaka created these fleets to search for T'Challa because he's in this, this homing beacon. He's saying, my son was taken out of this world to, so he knows that he was abducted. So it's like, it kind of feels like he put a bunch of resources into finding him.
Yeah, I'm curious if you notice in any of the space movies that we've had with the MCU and also in Black Panther, the dome that protects Black Panther is by these like hexagonal shapes. And in the space movies like Guardians and stuff, and in this one, the jumping, the hyperspace jumping, they go through hexagonal shapes to go through. It's like, oh, maybe Wanda has some involved in probably not, but it was interesting. So it's like, did the Wakandans have a play in the greater technological advances, or did Wakanda get technology from outside visitors? So it's, well, what if? What if the Wakandans
Answer these questions, what if?
It's those rabbit holes that you have to be careful about with this show.
I was going with you though. We were like, oh my god, there's hexagons everywhere.
But like, all in all, this like creepiness aside, again, I really, really enjoyed this episode. Even up to this point, it was a lot of fun to see this. This episode really centers on T'Challa and how, despite hailing from an man, why can't I say that? I just said it like yesterday, and I can't say it today. Say it for me.
Isolationist
Nation. He remains true to what makes him such a deserving king in the first place, even in space. Head writer, I did like this, what the writer A.C. Bradley said. T'Challa is an interesting character because he's not a character who arcs himself. He's a character who changes the world around him. He doesn't go through a transformation, he transforms the world. So taking a step back, we ponder, how could T'Challa transform outer space? And he does it so effortlessly. You know, guys, I guess that stomach bug is affecting more than my insides.
Oh, it's in his mouth.
I can't. Deep breath.
Yeah.
We got this.
Take a deep breath. You're also drinking espresso on an empty stomach.
You know,
you're moving too quickly.
Yep. We haven't said this in a long time. The cold brew is really kicking in. Yeah, because there's nothing to stop it from going straight to my system.
Yeah, also someone who's recovering from a stomach virus probably shouldn't be having some sort of milk-based espresso charged drink right now.
Who got it for me?
Who wanted the venti?
Well, okay, it's the weekend. Go big or go home.
Yeah, we're going effing crazy. It's the weekend. We're getting venties. Yo, crazy.
So, anyway.
We've lost our minds. And it's
They
not
love
even
it.
that early.
They love it.
Okay.
So, unfortunately, before T'Challa could process the bombshell of, oh, Yondu's been lying, Wakanda is not a barren wasteland.
No.
My dad is alive and well and searching for me, obviously because I'm in a Wakandan ship.
Yeah. I mean, like, also, let's just take a step back for a second. So, like, how could you trust Yondu when Yondu knew that you were the wrong kid and he was like, okay, I'll keep you. Put him back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not, I mean, they're based in, like, not a great place.
But I think it was more of like, oh, you want to be an explorer? Cool. I don't think that's a great criteria to keep the wrong child.
Yeah, I mean, like, granted, he's like a criminal, you know, like Yondu, like he's not thinking like, you know, your everyday run of the mill.
Well, they were
galactic
tasked. Yeah, they were tasked by a celestial ego to go get him. So it's kind of like, I guess he had to do it anyway.
And
but
then
Ego would know that's not his kid.
Well, that's what I'm saying. And obviously they didn't bring him to Ego. And like, wasn't Ego mad that it was the wrong kid?
He's like, we couldn't find him. Sorry.
Maybe they just didn't take payment. They Venmo'd him back. They sent it back.
I mean, deny your request for money.
Right. They're like, okay, no, sorry, wrong guy, wrong kid. Get him yourself. Bye.
But before he could process this bombshell, Cha-Cha is double-crossed by Nebula.
No.
I was like, oh, okay, some things don't change. But I was like, keeping it, I was like, okay, maybe Nebula's still going to be good because she turned out to be great in the Avengers movies. So
True. Can I also make a request that anytime you say Cha-Cha, you say it like Cha-Cha?
No.
Do it.
Cha-Cha.
No. Do it like Karen
No,
Gillan would do
I
it.
can't.
Pretend you're a Scottish woman with red hair that's doing an American accent.
No, definitely not. That's too hard. No.
Cha-Cha.
All right. The Ravengers are all placed in a holding cell where T'Challa is able to confront Yondu about the lies he told him. So this is very much like Peter and Yondu's situation as well. He was lied to also. Yondu tells him that the past is nothing but a prison and he's just like him, an explorer. An explorer.
Whoa! Things are getting racy. What is happening?
Oh, they know what I said.
Believe in yourself.
Every time you sing that, I don't believe in myself.
What? No, that's the exact opposite of what it's supposed to do.
But Yondu saw himself in young T'Challa, and T'Challa had the fire to be an explorer and wanted to go out into space. So, just as the discussion begins, Corvus Glaive comes to collect T'Challa and bring... Why are you laughing? That's how you say it. Corvus Glaive!
You're going... Like, it's like you're saying things so quickly, it just sounds like one sound.
Guys, does it? All right, let me try again.
Yeah, take it slow.
No.
Take a breath. No, that was shallow. Don't sing the Lady Gaga hit. Be the opposite.
What?
Shallow.
Oh.
I'm in a movie.
I never saw that movie.
Me either. It sounds too depressing.
Yeah, I heard also it wasn't necessary. But what movie is necessary?
I think they're redoing it again.
That movie's been redone like 5 times.
Exactly.
Yeah, no
Keep
thank
the
you.
tradition going.
No, I'm
Ariana
good.
Grande this time.
Are you lying?
Yeah, I'm making that up.
Thank God.
I'm being facetious.
All right. So, just as the discussion begins, Corvus Glaive comes to collect T'Challa and bring him to the Collector. I don't like enunciating this much.
That was beautiful.
You're welcome. This Collector, played by Del Toro, is much different from the MCU. But still the same, also. I really want to see the Grandmaster and the Collector interact. I'm like waiting for that. I know the Grandmaster has to come back in the MCU. I want to see it. I want to see what these guys would talk about. Catch up, family stuff.
You put it in the universe.
Yeah.
Might happen.
But thankfully, Nebula breaks the Ravengers out and reveals the whole mission was a ruse. I said mission. Reveals that the whole mission was a ruse to steal the Embers right from under the Collector's fabulous fur coat.
Yep.
You know, I'm so sorry you had to wait extra for this episode.
So, I mean, I like that for a second we thought that Nebula was bad.
Right.
But
it's
she
to her
really
character.
wasn't. Like, they let us, like, be nervous for literally a minute. And then it was like, no, it's okay. T'Challa knew the whole time.
Right.
He's in on it. We didn't want to tell you guys, but we got it.
We get a very much like Mission Impossible / like Ocean's 11, like, go back to when the plan was made and you didn't hear this part of the plan, but T'Challa was in on it. He knew what was happening.
Exactly.
So, however, the Collector catches wind of the ruse and attacks T'Challa using iconic weapons from the Marvel Cinematic Universe that we know. We saw that in this timeline, he's managed to get his hands on, I wrote in my notes, Hela's Thor hammer. That doesn't make sense. He got his hands on Hela's headpiece from Thor Ragnarok, Thor's hammer, Mjolnir, and Captain America's shield. I'd love to hear the stories behind how he got these items and also how he got them at this point in time.
Well, right. So that's where, like I was saying at the beginning of this episode, I'm kind of interested in seeing which of these episodes comes together. Because in the last episode, we saw that Captain Carter was frozen in time with her shield. And now he has a shield. So...
But it was Captain America's shield, not her shield.
True.
So then it would have to be a different universe.
Right.
So the only way that I could see these coming together is if they cross universes.
The
and
Watcher
stuff.
just handpicks people from different stories for some larger mission that we don't know yet.
Maybe. Interfering. We know he does that.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
As of right now, he's just watching.
The Collector also mentions getting a fist off of a terribly chatty Cronin. And Korg from Thor Ragnarok is a terribly chatty Cronin. So that's upsetting, because how dare you mess with Korg?
Yeah.
No, thank you.
I also like there's always just a whisper of Taika Waititi in something.
Oh, yeah.
Just lightly, just talking about him in passing.
I'm fine. And What We Do in the Shadows, MCU, DC now, thank you. I'm fine. Yep,
agreed.
I like it.
Yeah.
The Collector also puts on Hela's headpiece and mimics the running the hands through it to put it on, which I was hoping it would like sprout out as he did it, just like she did, but let her have that, I guess. Let her have that iconic scene.
Maybe that's how you activate the Hela helmet.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right?
That's kind of dumb. if that is how you activate it. It's like, hold on, let me put my hands through.
Yeah.
No, thank you. With the two leaders busy, the Ravengers outside try to escape, only to be stopped by the Black Order. Thanos decides to take them on alone despite concerns from his daughter. He begins to lose the battle, but Nebula arrives just in the nick of time and helps her father take down the Black Order by throwing the Embers of Genesis into their mouths, making wild growth happen. So Knowhere now will... I wonder if Knowhere will become alive again, because it's the head of a Celestial.
Mm-hmm.
So
But now it has life, plant life.
Will it activate it again? I don't know. That's gonna suck.
Giant Groot.
Yeah. This is a hard turn from what we know in the MCU, especially for both of them, because Nebula, I do not see her trying to help her father. She always tried to escape or, begrudgingly did his bidding. In this one, she purposely goes back to help him. So we know, even though that she's adoptive, he did not torture her for a very long time. And then they have a decent relationship.
And maybe she didn't have to live in the shadow of the sister that he favored more as well.
Oh, that's a good point.
Right?
Yeah. Where's Gamora? Who is Gamora? Why?
When?
No, it's why.
How?
It's from Infinity War.
Oh. Sorry.
When Drax is like, why is Gamora? Because they're going to look for her and they can't find her.
Oh, I thought we were just saying question words and Gamora.
Wah, wah. So Yondu helps T'Challa in his fight against the Collector. The pair are understandably having a hard time keeping up with their opponent. Without any other option, they steal the Collector's armband via sticky fingers, which we know that they've done this in the MCU before, which controls all the cages. What's her name? Karina? I always forgot her name. I want to say Kurna, but it's not a name.
It's like not that spacey. It's just Karina.
Yeah, Karina.
They could have made it spacier.
Karina lets the beings being held prisoner out and then they go after the collector. So
Yeah.
karma, he even says that. He's like, yeah, I get it. That's fine.
I deserve
This is how it should. Yeah.
My question is, how do they all, once they rip him apart or whatever, how do all of the prisoners get out? How many ships are on the head?
Not my story, not my problem.
Oh, I'm so concerned.
Karina will take care of
They're
them.
like, we killed him. Uh-oh. We're still stuck here.
Yeah, and there's like plants growing
Yeah.
all throughout it. I don't know. I mean, sorry about it.
All right.
The pair escape in the Wakandan ship with T'Challa deciding to take his found family to meet his real one on Earth. So he did get a touching moment with Yondu and T'Challa making amends, and they're like, it's fine. Whatever. What's done is done. I'm a great space explorer. I'm Star-Lord. Also, my family's alive in Wakanda. All is well. It's fine. The Ravagers break bread with the Wakandans, and I do like that Okoye does make a cameo in this, even though it is talking to Thanos, which was very weird.
Yes.
And again, we hear the genocide comment.
Yep.
But it was nice. It seems like a happy ending. But the same can't be said for Peter Quill. Did not expect to see Peter Quill in this or have like some type of cliffhanger-y thing. So 2 episodes so far, we have cliff-ish hangers.
Mm-hmm.
This one I feel like is more of a cliffhanger
Yeah.
than, Captain Carter waking up to see Nick Fury and Hawkeye.
Yeah.
Ego comes to collect his son, essentially, which, why did it take him this long? Like, if the mistake was made like 20 years ago, and he's like, oh, I finally found him. He's just been in Dairy Queen this whole time, mopping floors.
Maybe he really didn't care that much. That's why he was willing to let it go when they picked up T'Challa instead of Peter.
Well, he was going around making a lot of spawn, so
Yeah.
I guess
He's like, oh,
I'll get to it.
Child number 893, whatever.
Yeah,
I'll get him later.
I'll get to it.
Yeah.
But this is interesting. I'm curious how this is going to turn out. Like, is Star-Lord, or not Star-Lord, is Peter Quill going to be bad because he didn't have that development in
Right.
the Guardians movies and that change of heart, aka falling in love with Gamora, to realize how bad his dad is? Because we found out in Guardians 2, he got played by his dad, and then with knowing and having like a hero's heart, he's like, oh, my dad's a maniac, so
Right.
fuck this guy. But in this,
I mean, in this, it seems like, right, it's like he's working at a fast food joint, maybe not living the life that he wanted to live. And now this all-powerful father's like, hey, come join me. I can give you a better life. And then the Watcher says something like, could create the end of the world.
right.
And so maybe this is the mission that all the characters from the What If timelines need to come and stop.
If Peter Quill is like the final boss in this, no.
Ego Jr.
No, thank you. But I am curious. I want to see what where this conversation goes, because maybe Peter is happy. He's happy being with his mom and working at. Maybe he owns that Dairy Queen.
He's a franchisee.
Yeah, I mean,
right.
Also, what if he just wants to work at fast food?
That's
all-
true.
that's
Maybe.
fine.
I mean, he's got his mixtapes. He's down.
Exactly. It's curious. I'm curious to see where this goes. And of course, we can't not talk about how. So this is Chadwick Boseman's final performance, I think, across all mediums. Like, this is his final one. And we do know that there should be more coming, but, this is the final one. We do get the title card at the end dedicated to Chadwick Boseman, which was beautiful and really nice. And I did read that they were actually talking about doing a T'Challa Star-Lord spinoff.
Really?
Yeah, after that, which obviously would have been great. And it just shows that Chadwick Boseman loved doing this T'Challa, not just the MCU one, but this one. So it was really good. I mean,
they loved him too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, everybody did. If you look at everybody he's worked with in every company, they're like, he's amazing.
Yeah.
And no, of course, it's sad that we don't get more of this. This as his final performance, I think is great. He's fantastic at voice acting, which, there's always that hesitation when it's like, you really like an actor and then they do something else in a different medium. And it's like, ooh, that's not that great. He's great.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Sean Gunn, on the other hand, is not great at voice acting. I didn't really particularly like him, his voice acting in this one, but T'Challa, the star of this episode, knocked it out of the park. I liked it.
I thought Benicio del Toro struggled a little bit in the voice acting.
I feel
as
like
the
he didn't really
collector.
he didn't talk like the collector kind of did.
Yeah.
It was odd.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But all in all, I thought that the dedication was really beautiful, and kind of seeing this essence of T'Challa, but also of Chadwick Boseman as this Robin Hood type character who's always doing good and changing the world around him. It really gave us the essence of what it was probably like to work with Chadwick Boseman, where
Just
he
by
was,
existing.
right, and he was always just like changing the room and changing the world around him. So it was great.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great way to like continue his legacy and have this as his legacy. And it's very sad that he won't be in Black Panther 2. And I know that, you know, the director and the writers are very like, they were struggling at first, but they're like, this is going to be dedicated to him. Like, we want to continue his legacy. And I'm glad that they're doing that, because he means a lot to a lot of people in a lot of communities for bringing this type of character in the forefront. Oh, yeah. And he paved the way.
Yeah.
And then we're going to be getting Riri Williams, probably Ironheart coming up. So it's like, without Chadwick Boseman and without his legacy, I mean, come on. Great. Thank you. Yeah. Great episode.
Totally.
So again, this episode was fantastic. I thought I'm settling in with the style of the animation. I'm like, I like it. I'm here for it. I don't think that there's any weird parts. Did you notice that especially in the Wakandan dinner or party scene at the end, it was panning.
They froze.
They would freeze.
Yeah.
The characters would freeze before they're off screen. I don't know if that's like a stylistic choice or like the rendering or...
Yeah, it felt like sort of like, oh, these are little vignettes of scenes that are happening. But it did feel awkward. I think for both of us to notice it, it's like, why wouldn't Nebula just have at least turned back to the conversation?
I think they did that, though, in the background scenes when they were fighting the Black Order in Knowhere. If you notice, there's like a few people moving, but the background is still like even people. And it's like, I know they do that in some animation, but I was like, oh, I didn't notice that in Captain Carter. Maybe because this one was just so much and it was so like a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not complaining about it. I was just like, oh, this is interesting.
Yeah, something that I definitely noticed. I agree.
Right. Yeah. But I'm totally settling into it. I'm here for this what if ride. I'm curious to see what's next. What do you think is next?
Oh, I saw it.
Oh, you did?
It's on IMDb.
Oh, well, I don't look at IMDb. That site spoils so much shit for me.
I have to look at the cast of the show.
What is it?
It's Loki.
Loki?
Yeah.
He has an episode?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's Loki, what if... Of course, it disappears now, and I'm trying to look for it. This episode... What if Loki presented himself to the governments of Earth as a king of Asgard using all his diplomacy?
Oh, I was like, that can't be the title.
No. Yeah, it doesn't have a title yet.
Whoa.
It doesn't have the official title yet, but that's the little descriptor.
Wait, so are we possibly getting like a President Loki situation?
Maybe.
Or a ambassador, do-gooder Loki? This is interesting. We'll see.
Yeah, it shows him standing in front of a bunch of delegates and stuff like that.
Interesting. Okay.
But they don't have the cast out for it yet, which is interesting. All they have is...
They hide that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, they don't want people knowing who's coming and who's going.
They don't want people knowing who's coming and who's going.
All right. So that was that episode. But of course, our episodes wouldn't be complete without a special segment at the end.
That's right. So it is time for another installment of Things That Make You Go, what? So this special segment takes us to the remote town of Longyearbyen, Norway, where, along with being super cold, it is illegal to die.
What? Okay.
Since 1950, it was outlawed to expire in this town due to the fact that bodies weren't decomposing, but rather just freezing in the cemetery.
That's not their problem.
So, but the problem is that whatever you died of, so there was a flu pandemic.
Oh, no.
And then all the bodies just froze, and when they exhumed them, the flu was still alive in the bodies.
So, okay.
It just preserved everything. No one could decompose because it was so cold.
Well, what are they doing? Just leaving them out in the streets? Like, what?
So in the cemetery, I don't know.
They're like, oh, sorry, you died there. You stay there.
Bye.
Like, you can't put them in a cremate them? You can't put them in a morgue?
I think cremating is now an option, but it's such a small town that like they don't have the resources to do that.
So this one small town could have killed the entire world.
Basically. So the terminally ill are now asked to fly to larger cities to spend the rest of their days.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And in an article from The Sun, they share some other rules there. Cats are banned to protect the Arctic bird population.
Okay,
And
great.
visitors are expected to take their shoes off in virtually every building, not just people's homes.
Wait.
Yeah, I don't know if these are true.
No, I am not grocery shopping barefoot. No. I'm not going into Best Buy
And it's
barefoot.
so cold, you have to be wearing boots and stuff like that.
Dude, it's maniacs.
Yeah, and on the other end of the circle of life, those who are pregnant are also asked to leave the town because there isn't a hospital for them to give birth.
Oh, I was like, get these pregnant women out of here.
Get out of here. So know that if you plan to retire in Norway, don't go to Longyearbyen.
I've never heard of it, and I'm glad I won't be going there.
Yeah.
I definitely won't die there.
Yeah, no.
Wait, okay, so whoa. It's legal to die there. What's going to happen?
So here's
You're
the
dead.
thing, is that like the illegal part is sort of like the fantastical way of saying like they just
Like, please don't die here.
don't die here. Yeah,
You'll kill everybody.
basically. It's like because the bodies will just stay frozen in the earth and you could possibly release a disease.
Well, are people digging up the body? Like, I need to know more.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just out of fear of the fact that the bodies aren't decomposing and the diseases could possibly spread into the earth, into the atmosphere. So they'd rather not take the chance. So they send you off. Go to Oslo, they say.
You can just, like, put him in the ocean or something.
Viking burial.
Exactly.
Light him on fire.
There you go.
All right. But yeah, that is a weird what? Huh?
It's kind of like Fisher Island here.
Oh,
Right?
Fisher's Island?
Yeah, Fisher's Island. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they have, like, weird, like, they're small, but it's like,
Yeah, Fisher's Island is an anomaly in itself. You have to take a boat to Connecticut and then from Connecticut take a boat to Fisher's Island back down.
even though Fisher's Island is closer to Connecticut than it is to New York, but it's still considered Suffolk County.
Right, it's
in New
still
York.
considered
Yeah.
New York, but what makes it more confusing is that they actually have a Connecticut zip code.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
like getting packages there is really confusing because it says New York, but it's a zip code in another state. Everything's on a boat.
Yeah. I mean, imagine like having to go to the doctor or just go to the DMV or something. You have to go to Connecticut
Yeah,
to then go back down.
Yeah.
It's dumb.
it's crazy.
It's not the same thing as what we were just talking about, but I'm just like, it's small like that. Like they have weird things there where it's like,
yeah.
why? Just don't live there.
It seems that it's a thing that made you go, what?
Yeah. Relate it back. All right.
You're spiraling.
Yeah, hopefully next week will be better. And it will be on time.
Yes.
So I promise that. And apparently we're going to be talking about Loki again. So
We're right back.
we're right back to it. All right.
All right.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Thanks for listening to A Bite of, artwork and editing by our own Noah. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Instagram at A Bite of Pod and on Facebook at A Bite of. If you have questions, recommendations, or just want to say hi, you can email us at abiteofpod@gmail.com. You can find us on all podcast platforms. Please be sure to rate and review to spread the word. Hope you join us next time on A Bite of. Bye.